playoff picture. So let's do a little deep dive. Wilson and I'll do a little deep dive here on the playoff picture. We'll start.
Right.
We'll start the. We'll start NFC or AFC.
Let's do NFC because I'm an AFC guy.
Yeah, I'm an NFC guy. So in the NFC, the current teams are Arizona 1 at 10-2, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Dallas, LA, Washington, and San Francisco. Weren't the Eagles in earlier?
They were in, and then the Washington football team won, and they swapped because they swapped picks as well. Because I'll tell you quickly. You may not care, but just for
people might not be wrong. There might be three. What if there are three NFC East teams in the playoffs?
I wasn't lying. I mean,
crazy.
San Fran doesn't have the easiest schedule, but like I said, it comes down to how those divisional matchups in the NFC East play out.
So before the 4 p.m. games ended, the Eagles had the 20th pick because they were in the playoffs, and Washington was 12th, and then they swapped selections based on the Washington win.
So it's if there are two wild cards currently in the NFC who are 6-6. Again, we've come back to the same point we were at 3 or 4 weeks ago, where the top 5 teams are basically in. And
yep.
I mean, obviously, things could get weird. Washington sweeps Dallas.
That'd get really weird.
Injuries happen, etc. But generally speaking, the top 5 teams are in. So you have X number of teams who are fighting for 2 spots. Obviously, we can eliminate Detroit. I'm going to eliminate Chicago and the Giants. I think
you missed the team down there.
I don't think you can get rid of Seattle quite yet. They're 2 games back in the playoffs and have the Texans and the Lions. So
okay, let's do it this way then. So
if you were do it this way, eliminate anyone you would feel comfortable putting your life on the line for.
Oh my God.
Like you're not eliminating Seattle if it's your life on the line.
Here's what I'm thinking. So you're right. The top 5 appear to be solid. 6 and 7, Washington and San Francisco are fluid, and you can stick with 6 and 7 at Washington and San Francisco, or you can pick 2 others, and your life depends on it. Are you? What are you doing? Are you staying with 6 and 7? Or are you picking 2 others, and who are the 2 others? You got to get the 2 others right.
I got to hit a parlay to save my life.
Or Breach is coming over with a very sharp steak knife.
Oh God, I like my.
He's on his way.
All right, so Detroit's out. Obviously, Chicago, New York.
I'm not taking Seattle if my life depends on it. To answer your question,
of course not. Atlanta, Carolina out if my life depends on it. New Orleans 2 right now. So it comes down to 4 teams between Washington.
Taysom Hill has the Joe Burrow hand injury, so who the hell knows how he's going to be?
It's Washington, San Francisco, Philly, and Minnesota. I know San Francisco sucked today, but I feel fairly not comfortable with them. They're 6-6.
Feel better.
I will trust them more than any of those other teams.
I agree with that. So then the question becomes: Minnesota's out. Forget them. They might win by 100 points on Thursday. I don't care. So it's Philly
Washington versus
Philly versus Washington. Philly is a half game behind Washington as we sit here,
and they play each other twice.
Yeah. So you're
just lobbying.
You're playing a game of single chamber Russian roulette at this point.
How lucky can Taylor Heineke remain? Now he's been good, but he's also been lucky. And Debo, do you want Jalen Hurts back ASAP at 90%, as Breach was alluding to after the bye, or do you want to roll with Gardner Minshew at 100% while Jalen gets healthier?
Good timing for the bye. I'd probably roll with Jalen if we're expecting 90%. But it's a good question.
I'll say this. And this is kind of interesting. So the Eagles have completely revamped their offense and have become a run-heavy, the best rushing team in football, right?
Last week they had a relapse, but prior to that, yes.
Yeah. Washington has. I'm trying to bring up the number of rushing yards they gave up against Las Vegas. 76. Oh my. Washington. In their last, since they turned things around, and they haven't allowed more than 24 points in their last 6 games. 57 rushing yards against Green Bay, very impressive. 83 rushing yards allowed against Denver. It's a Vic Fangio run-heavy scheme. 53 against Tampa Bay. Somehow they allowed 111 to Carolina, but that's Cam. 34 against the Seahawks.
The Cam thing is very interesting, by the way, because guess what Jalen Hurts is? A better version of Cam.
That's true. That's a good point. I think that is the deciding factor for Washington versus Philly is who wins that. Like, who wins the battle of that? Like, if Philly can run on Washington, then they're in the playoffs. But if Washington stops Philly from running, then I don't think Philly makes it. How confident do you feel about running on Washington, Diva?
I feel like it turns into a series split, and then things get real interesting as we get to the end of the season. Because, like we mentioned, and I'll toss it up now, but Washington plays Dallas twice. Eagles play Dallas one more time, and obviously the Giants again, and have one more game played as they head into their bye week. So here's Washington.
Ooh. I mean, they're all division games, obviously, versus Dallas, at Philly, at Dallas, versus Philly, at Giants. I mean, oh God, this team is. I will take Washington, but only because I had a preconceived bias towards Washington before the season, and I think Ron Rivera's got something cooking right now.
I had Washington too, and I just slept on them after all those losses you see before the bye there. It's like, well, they're done.
Look at their points allowed since week 7. They've flicked a switch on defense.
Yeah.
They would get 24 points.
It would have been real interesting if we talked about last week one of these games that Dallas probably should have lost but snuck away with, and they were 7-5 right now. That would make things super interesting in this division.
Real spicy.
I'll take the Eagles, even though I had Washington preseason, just to hop on the Debo bandwagon.
All right, I'll go San Francisco and Washington. Wilson's going San Francisco and Philly.
Yeah.
And Debo's going Philly and Philly. Is that correct?
That's right.
That sounds. You want to add one more? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're going 2 Phillies, Philly and Philly in the playoffs.
Philly and Philly.
Who's your second team since Breach didn't show up?
I'm
getting worried. Hold on. Breach has been fired and Debo's replaced him. So.
I'm looking forward to driving across the state for a Eagles Tampa Bay Buccaneers wild card matchup. If the Bucs get to 2, Eagles are at 7. That would be fun. But I'll go.
I think that's a bad matchup for the Eagles.
I was going to say, Debo, do you like going to games where there's a chance, a better than average chance that your team loses? You're okay?
No. Not playoff games.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that. I was thinking about going if you were a Broncos fan, would you go to that Chiefs Broncos game, spend all that money, be out late, have to go to work Monday, knowing your team's going to get throttled more than likely? So you would or would not go to Tampa Bay for a playoff game?
I would give it a shot. I mean, there's something to be said about this season where there was limited expectations and making the playoffs feels like a win. And that feels like somewhat of a loser mentality where I would be super upset with a playoff loss. But
all right,
you're already kind of exceeding expectations. It's not a year in which they're the 2 seed and you're playing the 7 seed and a loss there. That would be more tough to swallow.
I mean, my dad invited me to go to NC State at Wake Forest. He's like, you want to come play golf? Then we'll go to the NC State game. I was like, nah, I'm good. He's like,
that's only 2 hours from your house?
It's like 15 minutes from my parents' house. He was like, wait, you have something going on? I was like, nah, I just don't want to go watch them lose. And then,
yeah. I mean, it's not fun.
Yeah. Hey, hit the like button. We are dangerously close to giving away a hat. There's enough people, I think, in here watching this stream at 1 a.m. that we can give away a hat. So
by the way, you know
that like button.
Sorry, hit the like button. You know who Breach is? Breach is the guy who has to give a presentation at work, and he goes, "I'll be right back." And you look out the window, and he's running down the street because he doesn't want to give the presentation. He is gone. He's just not coming back.
Well, he's also like, my internet cut out.
Yeah, right.
He told us via the internet that his internet cut out.
Weird.
Yeah. He's like, I heard you guys talking about me on the internet. Like, dude, we get it. You just bounced.
He's in the comments.
Yeah, he's Patrick Seeley in the comments. Hit the like button, people. Let's give away a hat. The AFC, the number 1 seed in the AFC. I'm not trying to peacock about the Patriots, but I mean, I wasn't wrong.
They're my team. I had drafted them.
What are you talking about? They're my team.
I drafted them in our Super Bowl teams draft.
But they have Mac Jones, so they can be our team. How about that?
All right, fair enough.
How weird is it, by the way, to be rooting for the? It's like, well, I'm rooting for the Patriots.
It's so funny. My buddy, my longtime friend from college, texted me. He grew up in Rhode Island. He lives there now. He's a huge Steelers, Patriots homer, and he always texts me when the Patriots beat the crap out of the Steelers, and it makes me so angry. Like, it's one of the few times I get angry. Today, he texted me at 7:30, 7:15. He said, "Gosh, I hope the Steelers beat the Ravens." I said, "Yeah, because you're a fair weather toolbox, and that makes sense." And then I said, "Also, it's so crazy that I've been rooting so hard for Mac Jones and the Patriots this year because that's not what a Steelers fan does." But yep, here we are.
It's wild. Pats 8-4, number 1 seed in the AFC. And Breach is doing. By the way, Breach is doing the classic thing where you send the chat the second time,
right? Yeah.
To make it think like it's having a difficult time uploading,
right?
So you're like, oh, I said that 3 or 4 times. I don't know what's happening.
I only hit it once. It went through that many times. Yeah, Grandpa.
Exactly. I kept hitting resend. Titans 8-4, Ravens 8-4, Chiefs 8-4. So
by the way, I love that Breach becomes Brian Kelly when talking about the internet. I keep hitting the button and it don't work.
Oh, put that Brian Kelly. What are we doing? Put that Victor Garcia comment back up, Diva, just for Breach is pulling a Bengals second half completely gone. To see it. So the Pats, the Titans, the Ravens, and the Chiefs.
This is our private chat dealing with this numbnut.
12 minutes to send it. You can see it on our Slack if you youtube.com/pick6. We have a good time on there. You can also hit the like button. Oh my God, hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please let us give away one of these damn hats. Titans, Ravens, Chiefs, and Patriots, all 8-4 at the top of the AFC. The Bills are 7-4. Obviously, the Bills and the Patriots will play on Monday night. The Chargers 7-5 and the Bengals 7-5. Steelers are just outside at 6-5-1. Can't remember who they tied. Who did they tie with?
The same team that the old Vikings lost to the other day.
They tied with the Lions. Humiliating. The Colts at 7-6 are probably the most terrifying team. But even the Raiders are 6-6. The Browns are 6-6. I mean, the Broncos are 6-6, and the Dolphins are 6-7.
Well, we just talked about the Dolphins and who we like better than, and mostly it's Miami, except for the Colts. Like literally everyone, the Dolphins are 13th, and between 8 and 13, the only team that we like better than the Dolphins are the Colts.
I would take, if I was like doing a rankings, there's probably 3 NFC teams, or I guess the 5 NFC teams. I'm trying to think how I would slot them. Like,
what do you mean slot them where?
Like within the AFC. I mean, there are 12, maybe 13 dangerous AFC teams.
Well, I think the same thing holds. You mentioned the top 5 teams in the NFC feel like quote unquote locks. I think the top 5 teams in the AFC feel like locks, and the Chargers at 6 and Bengals at 7 are the wild cards. So are there any trades that you want to make between 8 and 8?
Well, the Bills and Pats have to play twice, but I don't think either of them are going to miss.
No, that's right. No, they're fine. Even if the Bills lose both games, they're 7-6. If the Patriots lose both games,
all of a sudden you're 7-6.
Okay, well, if you want to do 5, 6, and 7 in the AFC, you can. I'm taking the top 5 teams as they sit here: the Patriots, Titans, Ravens, Chiefs, and Bills. And I would swap out the Chargers.
The Bills have the Patriots twice and the Buccaneers.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be easy.
I'm suddenly concerned about my win total bet here.
What is the win total?
10.5.
Yeah,
the Jets, Falcons, and Panthers, so they should get to 10. They just got to beat the Pats once.
Well, they lost to the Jag.
I know the Jags loss is kind of stinging in the haunches here.
All right, so how many teams do you want to swap out?
This is like, look at this though. The Broncos are 6-6, and they are 2 games out of and they're 12th in the AFC, and they're 2 games out of the first seed in the AFC.
Well, as Breach mentioned, had they won on Sunday night, they would be in the playoffs. And the Chiefs would be out, which is bonkers, and the Chargers would be number 1 in the AFC West.
I feel very comfortable with New England making the playoffs, Buffalo making the playoffs, and Kansas City making the playoffs. Outside of that, I'm not sure about.
Is there a path for the Colts to win the division?
I don't think so.
7-6 versus 8-4.
But Tennessee has a sweep.
All right, so you don't.
They're. I mean, they're close enough. So the Colts are also on their bye, which is again is super annoying this late. Then they host the Patriots at the Cardinals, Raiders at home, and at the Jaguars. That's a pretty tough schedule. Like going 3-1 there would be really good, right?
Yeah, here's what I'm doing. I'm taking the Bengals out of the 7th seed, and I'm putting the Colts in the 7th seed. I'm leaving the Chargers where they are, either 6 or 7, and the Colts and Chargers end up making it for me. That's where I'm going.
And the Titans, by the way, still have the Jaguars at home and the Texans on the road. I know they lost to the Texans, but still, like, 2 very winnable games. If they win those 2 games, the Titans will win the division.
So, what are your changes, if any, to the current AFC playoff race?
Man, I mean, I think it's a dog. I mean, it's just a dog fight. I would probably say I don't want to toss the Bengals out. I think the top 5 get in. I think the Chargers. I think 2 of 3 between the Chargers, Bengals, and Colts make it. And I might toss out. I think the Colts get in somehow, and I'm not sure between the Chargers and the Bengals who misses.
I agree. And what would be incredibly awesome is if the Colts and the Dolphins end up being those final 2 teams. That would be fun.
That would be fun.
But we just talked about Miami has played a pretty soft schedule, but they have won 5 in a row nonetheless.
Correct.